In Matthew 25, we see Jesus giving some analogies to explain what the kingdom of heaven will be like. He speaks of it being like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 are said to have been wise, 5 were foolish. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. But the wise ones brought oil in jars along with their lamps. They ended up having to wait a long time for the bridegroom to arrive, so all 10 of them became drowsy and fell asleep. But at midnight there was a sudden cry saying, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all 10 virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps, but the 5 foolish ones said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." But the wise virgin answered them, saying, "We can't. There may not be enough for us and you. Why don't you go buy some for yourselves?" And the foolish virgins had no choice, but while on their way, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other virgins came, crying out, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But the Lord replied, "Truly I tell you, I don't know you." The strong warning we are given is this: keep watch, because you don't know the day or the hour when the Lord will return. Every year, millions upon millions of people make New Year's resolutions, and only 9 to 12% are successful at keeping them. Now, for most of these resolutions, failure does not mean the end of the world. But what if failure would lead to dire consequences? According to Jesus, the kingdom of heaven will be like a master who, prior to going on a long journey, entrusts his servant his wealth. To the first he gave 5 bags of gold, the second 2 bags, and the last servant 1 bag of gold. He gave to each one according to his ability and talents, and then he went on his journey. The servant who received 5 bags of gold put it to work and turned it into 5 more bags of gold. The one with 2 bags turned it into 2 more bags of gold. But the servant with the 1 bag of gold dug a hole in the ground and hid the bag of gold. After a long time, the master of these servants returned and settled accounts with them. The men who had received 5 bags of gold came to the master and said, "You entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more." His master was very pleased, and he replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Now the servant with 2 bags of gold also came and said, "Master, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. I have gained 2 more." And his master was pleased with him also. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Then the servant who had received 1 bag of gold came, and he said, "Master, I knew that you are a hard man. You harvest where you do not sow. You gather where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. Here's your bag of gold back." The master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I don't sow, I gather where I have not scattered seed? You should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest." The master's reaction toward the servant was swift and severe. He called the others there and said, "Take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags, and throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have in abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them." Do not get confused about what's happening here. It may seem that the master is being too harsh, but that is where we must make sure to understand the mindset of the kingdom of heaven and the mindset of that servant. If you belong to the kingdom of heaven, you are expected to contribute to it. The bags of gold were given to these servants not as something they were to keep, but as something they were to invest in order to get an increase and a return. The servant with the one bag of gold damaged his master's character by accusing him of being harsh and unfair. The master's true character is reflected in the way he responded to the two servants. He promoted and elevated them, giving them a special role to share in his happiness. The servant with the one bag of gold was just lazy. He had no interest whatsoever in promoting the interests of his master. How many of us, so-called followers of Jesus, do the same thing? We bury our gifts and talents and do nothing to bring a return so that we can show something of value for our stay here on earth. God is not expecting you to operate outside of what He has equipped you for, but He fully expects you to put in work on the basis of the gifts and talents that are individually yours. Unless we do that, according to Jesus, when He returns, it is not congratulations and praise that will be waiting for us, but condemnation and rejection. We will all be held accountable for failing to perform in the matters of the kingdom. Let's get to work.